Hey Rick fans, welcome back to the Rick Bakery, where all our jokes I have baked. I'm Jacob and today it's time for an update from my LEGO city. In my last video, I finished up those storefronts that's in front of the raised section of my LEGO city, and that means that that project is just about done. I still need to do some interiors and stuff, but other than that, everything is done on that front, which means I need to move on to other things. And at the end of last week's video, I showed you a rarely seen section of my LEGO city, and I've come up with some plans for that section. So let's head over to Bakersville and see what those plans are all about. Here is the city as it looks currently. Now, for the longest time, I've had a raised section that only included the Parisian restaurant, my own modular bakery, and the brick bank way back there. The point of making the raised section like this, only having 3 of the modular buildings raised, was to make this corner right here, which I like very much. However, the section back here is more or less completely obscured by this corner. The same goes for this building right here. There's actually a pharmacy behind the bakery, which can only be seen from an angle over here somewhere, so that's rarely seen as well. So I have very effectively hidden parts of my city by making these corners here, and that saddens me a little bit, to be honest. So today it's going to be about taking a more traditional approach to a LEGO city of this size. I'm going to move the detective's office back here with all the other modular buildings and make this a raised section too. And simultaneously I'll be taking out this building right here, which I never really finished anyway, and that'll make a free base plate in this spot right here. Of course, that means I'll have a row of modular buildings right here in the back, and there'll be a row of raised sections right here. But that's all to sort of not lose the details that's behind everything else, because as I said before, I am a little sad of all the hard work that went into something that cannot be seen. So the step today will be moving the detective's office, taking out the building behind it and making the raised section, and maybe adding a small decorative feature just to finish everything off in one end. So let's get going on that. So I've taken down the detective's office and I've just noticed how dusty everything actually is. I was recommended a product called the Dust Daddy, which is a sort of mouthpiece that you can put on your vacuum cleaner, which should be very, very good for LEGO. I've got to check that out at some point. They are not a sponsor, I just had it recommended to me, so I will be checking into that at some point. But for now, I just use my trusty paintbrush, which is soft and very good at getting into all kinds of small nooks and crannies on your LEGO. I really enjoy doing it like this, to be honest. But enough of that, and this whole section has got to be torn down, this old house right here. I fully imagine that I can use the pieces from this to make that decorative part I was talking about. The raised section is going to need some sort of ending, because that is towards the edge of my table with my LEGO city, and I think I'll be doing something that's very, very much like something that you may have seen before on other channels. Usually you would see a grey wall with arches like these going along a side, much like on my raised section, but usually it would be grey. I think I'll be making it white and dark red with these masonry pieces right here. So first things first, gotta tear all this down to get ready to use this for the raised section. Ten minutes worth of breaking down stuff has gotten me this far. Now, I'm not gonna sort everything out on camera. I will leave some of this for another time. The most important thing I think is to clear this base plate so we can start building. So that will be my focus from here on in. This is the cleaned out base plate. Now we just need to start work on that framework I usually build underneath my raised section to be able to carry the weight of the modular buildings. Now there has to be some kind of scaffolding in here, and also I need to make room for more of these small storefronts and small stores. I want to be underneath the raised section, and here needs to go that decorative wall I was talking about. So my focus now is adding in the scaffolding and then making this decorative wall here for the end. Oops, no. So this is why it can be a problem storing your bricks in plastic bags. I just took this up of a box where I usually store these bags, and it just exploded on me. So now I've got 2x2 bricks everywhere. But well, that's part of the charm of having Lego, I believe. So these are the bricks I will be using to make this scaffolding, and I need to go 10 bricks in height because that is how tall my raised section is. I usually just use these 2x something bricks because I rarely use them anywhere else, and they are great for stuff like this, creating filler. Now I will be making my scaffolding from the back and until somewhere just in front of the middle to make the best possible scaffolding for the modular building that's supposed to go on top. Now, once I put in the storefronts out here in front, they will carry their weight as well, and I'm gonna make separating walls as well, which will also carry some weight. So I think it's gonna be very well supported actually underneath everything when I get done. Before I can make those storefronts, I will be putting in temporary support like this, just making stuff like this standing around, which makes it a little more obvious once it's not done in the city, but is very, very helpful to support everything. So now the goal is to fill in some scaffolding here for just about half the base plate. You may have noticed that I changed between the 2x2s and the 2x4s, and that's to partly increase stability, but also because I've got more of these 2x2s than I got 2x4s. So to not end up just using 2x2s at the last rows, which would be very, very unstable unless I use some certain techniques, but it would be more unstable towards the top than towards the bottom, and I don't want that to happen too much, which is why I use different types of bricks down here already, just to be able to both increase stability and also not to have too much instability towards the end of this. So here we go. This is the finished scaffolding for the modular that's going to be on top here. And now I just need to do this decorative wall that I was talking about. And as I told you earlier, I'm going to use these dark red masonry bricks and some white bricks and also these white arches to just give it some depth down this way. So yeah, let's see how everything turns out. So here we see one of the problems with building big structures like this on a base plate. The tension of the bricks pulling together is actually pulling up the plate just a tiny bit. So yeah, I don't know what precisely I'm going to do about this. I hope that the weight of everything on top of this will eventually make it flat. If not, maybe I can tile this together with something else at the bottom and it will keep it down. But I've seen this happen before, and particularly when you make big walls like this, which I cross everything here, so there's always something overlapping something else like this, which means that the tension is going to be quite big, but it's also going to be very, very sturdy, which is important for something like this, or else the bricks would just topple out every which way all the time, I think. So yeah, this is just how it's going to be. If you have any kind of suggestions for how I can avoid something like this, please let me know in the comments on my website, www.brickbakery.fun, and I'd love to hear your suggestions. But on we go with the rest of this build. It seems like the tension problem of the base plate has resolved itself. At least it's now flat against the table, which is good. But I have noticed that when I put in these arches, it's almost like they're too long for this, but it should match. I mean, this is supposed to be the right number of studs between these, but it is very, very tense, which actually surprises me just a bit, because I thought it would just fit. I don't know what this is. I'm imagining that the distance between two studs, or between studs in general, isn't, you know, it's probably micro millimeters of imperfection that makes this tension, or maybe it's just because of the amount of bricks. I don't know. If you have any kinds of explanation for stuff like this, please let me know on my website. That's www.brickbakery.fun, and you can comment on my videos there. This is the wall finished, very decorative. I like the way the dark red and the white go together like this, and this arched look is just wonderful. I can see why people are very, very fond of using this design. Now, I just realized that I have to take down this arch by one brick, because I need to make room for the slope pieces that I have to have here to have the fence that I usually put up here. So I'll be taking this down one brick and fitting in some sloped pieces. I decided to put in this temporary fence up here, and I actually think it looks quite good. I think maybe adding some flowers down here or something like that would really spice it all up. Of course, adding some different kind of plants or small cracks or details on this would be a good way to go. But for now, this is just what I want to use. Just for now. It might just be temporary. I might add any sort of details. Maybe a door would be fun to have, maybe some kind of detail, a hole inside where you can see something. But for now, this is the wall I'm going to be going with to just have a place to start. So now I need to put this back in the city and move some of the modulars around to fit everything in there. So here we are back in the city, and let's get the framework in right here. Oops, this is looking quite good, I think. Yeah, I have thought I wanted to move the brick bank down here, because that would provide a nice bookend for this wall right here. So yeah, let's move the brick bank down here while we have the room here in front, and the detective's office should go down there in the end somewhere. So this is it. I must say that I do like it. I like how the brick bank sort of flows into this wall down here. Very, very nice, very great color scheme. It really matches very well. But moving all this around, I suddenly remember why I hadn't done this before. This light socket is in the way of the modular buildings. Now, it's not my plan to leave this modular building here forever. I will be putting in another modular building, one of my own modular buildings, which means I can take this socket into account, but until that time I have moved the table which it stands on away from the wall just a tiny bit to make room for this socket and for the modular building. So for now it works, but it's not a permanent solution in any fashion. And now I've just got to fit back in the detective's office. I think I will be pushing the bakery modular way down there because that is actually a corner modular with a road on it, so there will be some air. Again, this should be rebuilt at some point because you can't really see the pharmacy anyhow. And then I'll be putting the detective's office here instead of this. So that's the plan for now. This is where I am at presently, and it does look very different. And I'm not sure that the sort of sequence of the modular buildings is gonna end up like this. I may be moving them around again, and of course I will be changing the bakery modular way over here at some point so we can get that pharmacy out and be visible. Maybe I'll rebuild that one entirely because I can see that my skills in building has improved since then. So might be some improvements to make. Other than that, I think actually the brick bank ended up looking great over here. Not sure that it fits too well together with the Parisian restaurant. Now thinking of it, I might move the Parisian restaurant down at the end and just push everything up bit here, and I can turn the Parisian restaurant halfway around 90 degrees because that stairs could actually function very well as sort of an end. Yeah, well, I'll be taking any and all of your suggestions, my dear viewers. Please go to my website, that's www.brickbakery.fun, and I'll be happy to hear all of your suggestions. But that is all for me. I'll go back to me and I'll say thank you for watching. Today I updated the raised section of my city, and I've got to say that I am generally very satisfied with this. It does need some tweaking. The sequence of the modular does need to be changed a bit. I don't think this is the way that it looks the best, but just raising everything up like this is a good idea, I think. And in the long run, I hope to be making custom modulars for all these instead of these official modulars. I won't be taking these apart to rebuild them and make modulars. No, I would rather just store them elsewhere and then just build custom modulars. Now, the custom modular I do have does need some tweaking because one part of it is now completely invisible, but that was actually part of the plan. All this change left me with a full base plate that I can now build on, and that is the best part about all this. I'm really looking forward to filling this one up with all kinds of great stuff. And speaking of, if you have any kind of ideas, any kind of suggestions for my Lego city and maybe this new base plate, please feel free to go to my website www.brickbakery.fun and post all your comments there. I'd love to hear them. But until next time, I'm Jacob and this is the Brick Bakery.